The Somali story begins in the Horn of Africa, a region marked by dramatic landscapes and ancient history. Here, the land stretches out in sweeping plains and rugged hills, bordered by the endless blue of the Indian Ocean and the Red Sea. This is a place where dry, sun-baked plains meet the sparkling waters of two great seas, creating a unique environment that has shaped its people for millennia. For thousands of years, the Horn of Africa has been home to a resilient group of Cushitic people. Their language, customs, and traditions were molded by the challenges and opportunities of this land, passed down from one generation to the next. Early Somalis were nomads, expertly moving with their camels, goats, and sheep in search of water and fresh grazing. Their lives were closely tied to the rhythms of nature and the changing seasons. But they were not just herders. Along the coast, Somalis became skilled sailors, guiding their traditional dhows across ancient trade routes that connected distant lands. Their coastline bustled with activity, as merchants and traders from Africa, Arabia, and India gathered to exchange goods, stories, and ideas. Somali ports became gateways to the wider world. Many historians believe the legendary land of Punt, celebrated in ancient Egyptian texts for its treasures of gold, ivory, and aromatic resins, was located along the Somali coast. Frankincense and myrrh harvested from these lands were prized across the ancient world, filling temples and palaces with their sweet, mystical scents. Ports like Opone, now known as Hafun, were thriving centers where merchants traded silk, spices, pottery, and other valuable goods, linking Africa to the bustling markets of Asia and the Middle East. This long tradition of trade and exchange helped the Somali people develop a spirit of adaptability, resourcefulness, and a keen sense for business that endures to this day. Over centuries, the Somali people became a living bridge between Africa and Asia. Their culture, shaped by constant movement and interaction, reflects a blend of influences from across the region. Today, what remains is a proud, open-minded people, deeply connected to their land, their heritage, and the wider world that has always been part of their story. In the 700s, Islam came peacefully to Somali shores. It was brought by Arab traders and religious teachers. The religion was a perfect fit, mixing well with Somali values like being kind, brave, and independent. Mosques became places for learning and community, especially in cities like Zayla. The Arabic alphabet allowed Somali spoken stories to be written down, opening up new worlds of knowledge. Islam brought Somalis together under one shared spiritual identity, making them different from their neighbors. The call to prayer became the heartbeat of Somali society, keeping them steady through hundreds of years of change. As Islam took hold, Somali city-states and kingdoms grew strong. The Ajuran Sultanate became very good at farming and managing water, turning southern Somalia into a place that produced a lot of food. Mogadishu became a sparkling gem of the Indian Ocean, famous for its wealth and busy markets with people from all over. Somali kingdoms made their own money, built strong forts, and played important roles in trade and politics in the region. Leaders like Imam Ahmad ibn Ibrahim al-Ghazi became legends, defending Somali lands against powerful neighbors. These kingdoms showed how clever, skilled at ruling, and tough Somalis were long before Europeans arrived. Their legacy lives on in the old buildings, stories, and pride of the Somali people. In the late 1800s, the world witnessed the Scramble for Africa, a period when European powers raced to claim territories across the continent. Somali lands, rich in culture and history, were caught in the middle of this rush for control. Britain, Italy, France, Ethiopia, and Kenya all staked their claims, carving up Somali regions without regard for the people who lived there. Ancient routes, trade paths, and even families that had existed for generations were suddenly cut off by new borders drawn in distant European capitals. These lines on paper became real barriers, separating communities and disrupting daily life. The Somali territories were split into British Somaliland, Italian Somaliland, French Somaliland, now known as Djibouti, the Ogaden region, and the Northern Frontier District. Each area was handed over to a different foreign power, fragmenting the Somali homeland. Colonial rule looked different in each place. The British often governed indirectly, working through local leaders. The Italians imposed direct rule, which was frequently harsh and repressive. The French, meanwhile, had their own unique approach, focused on assimilation and control. Through all of this, the unity, language, and traditions of the Somali people were largely ignored by the colonial powers. The deep bonds of kinship and shared culture were overlooked in favor of foreign interests and rivalries. This forced division planted the seeds for future conflict, but it also sparked a new sense of Somali identity and pride. People began to dream of a time when they could reunite and govern themselves. The pain of being split apart became a powerful motivation. It inspired resistance, unity movements, and a determination to fight for freedom and self-determination. Colonialism left behind more than just artificial borders. It created a lasting desire among Somalis to bring their nation back together, to heal the wounds of division, and to reclaim their shared destiny. The struggle for self-rule and independence would soon become the next great chapter in Somali history as people organized, protested, and demanded their rights. Out of the pain of division, the dream of a united Somalia was born, a dream that would shape the nation's future for generations to come. Somalis fought hard against colonial rule, refusing to let foreign powers erase their traditions and way of life. From the very beginning, resistance was woven into the fabric of Somali society, as elders, warriors, and ordinary people all played their part in standing up to outside control. The most famous leader of this resistance was Sayyid Muhammad Abdullah Hassan, known by the British as the Mad Mullah, but celebrated by Somalis as a visionary and a hero who dared to challenge the might of empires. For 20 years, his dervish state waged a relentless guerrilla war, uniting Somalis from many clans and backgrounds. Under his leadership, people who once saw themselves as rivals began to see the value of coming together for a common cause, and a new sense of national pride began to grow. Sayyid Muhammad's stirring poems and powerful leadership made him a symbol of resistance and unity. His words inspired hope, courage, and a belief that Somalis could shape their own destiny, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Even though he was eventually defeated, the legacy he left behind continued to inspire future generations. His dream of freedom and self-determination lived on in the hearts of those who followed. Across Somali lands, resistance quietly grew, against unfair taxes, forced labor, and the loss of ancestral lands. In villages and towns, people found new ways to push back, organizing in secret and sharing stories of hope. After World War II, a new era began as modern nationalism took root. Groups like the Somali Youth League emerged, bringing together young people and activists who dreamed of a free and united Somalia. Instead of fighting with weapons, Somalis now marched in peaceful protests and held passionate debates, determined to win their rights through unity and dialogue. The struggle changed, but the dream remained the same: freedom and togetherness. The shared experience of injustice and struggle brought Somalis closer, forging a powerful sense of identity and belonging that could not be broken. The dream of a united nation, once distant, was now closer than ever, almost within reach, lighting a path toward a new future for all Somalis. In 1960, British Somaliland and Italian Somaliland became independent and joined together as the Somali Republic. The blue flag with a white star showed the hope of bringing all Somali lands back together. The early years brought good feelings, fair government, and growth. Mogadishu became beautiful, known as the Pearl of the Indian Ocean. The new country joined the United Nations and the Arab League, wanting to unite all Somalis under one flag. But it was hard to bring together the different ways of ruling from colonial times, and fights over borders with Ethiopia and Kenya started. Corruption and fighting among politicians grew, weakening the fragile fair government. In 1969, a military takeover led by Siad Barre ended the experiment with fair government. The dream of a peaceful, united Somalia began to fade. Still, the hope for unity stayed alive in the hearts of the people. Siad Barre's government brought some growth at first, but later, harsh rule and a terrible war with Ethiopia led to its collapse. By 1991, civil war broke Somalia apart, and the central government disappeared. But Somali communities found ways to adapt. Somaliland declared itself independent, Puntland formed its own self-governing area, and local ways of ruling appeared. Even with the chaos, Somalis built good money transfer systems and a strong phone service industry. Somalis living in other countries did well globally and sent important help back home. Poetry and culture remained sources of strength and identity. Today, a federal government is slowly rebuilding, but challenges remain. Through it all, Somali toughness continues. Their shared language, religion, and heritage keep them together. The Somali lion, hurt but not broken, still roars with hope for the future.